Hey everyone, Dr. Ziad Dahdul here from fflockerroom.com. Welcome back to another Fantasy Injury Monday. Just to kind of give you an update, I'm going to be trying to do these videos every Monday heading into the NFL season, primarily as a way for you to get prepared and ready and informed for your fantasy drafts heading into the upcoming season. And I think it's really big to understand, what the injuries these guys are dealing with, what the prognosis is, what the estimated recovery timeline, things of that nature. And so I hope you find this informative. And like always, give me some feedback on Twitter as Z_Dahdul. Let me know if you like it, and hopefully you're getting some information out of it. So just to get started, first guy we're going to discuss is Jimmy Graham, tight end for the Seattle Seahawks. Last year, tore his patellar tendon at the end of the season in December, and had a repair of the tendon that he tore. And at this point, he's roughly about 7 months post-op. And from a time frame standpoint, he should be ready to go in terms of being healthy enough and having the integrity of the tendon being where it needs to be for the start of the season. He's slated to be ready for training camp. They've been very coy about his recovery heading into the offseason. Haven't really given a lot of updates. Historically, this is not an injury that somebody bounces back from very well, especially for NFL players. This and the Achilles tears are really the two biggest injuries that guys have the hardest time coming back from, and even more so than an ACL tear. And we hear about ACLs all the time, but I think patellar tendons are a lot more debilitating in that the function of the patellar tendon is essentially to attach your quad muscle, your big thigh muscle, to the shin bone, and it provides a lever for that muscle to function and be powerful and forceful. And the quads are the powerhouse of the lower extremities, and so if you don't have that force production in your lower extremities via the quads, it's really difficult for a guy to maintain their explosiveness, being able to stop on a dime, being able to accelerate, decelerate, all of which are things that Jimmy Graham's going to have to do once he gets back on the field. Now, the medial lateral cutting things, not going to be as much of a problem with this kind of injury. It's just being able to jump and generate force is where he's really going to be lacking. Historically, this is not an injury guys come back from. There's been a lot of literature and data that have showed that football players don't bounce back well from these injuries. And so he's got a lot stacked up against him. He's a little bit older. He's not terribly old at this point, so that's not going to work against him too bad. But, to me, it's just if you're looking at him being your number one tight end heading into the season and you don't have a capable backup ready to go, especially at the first few weeks as he gets the rust off, gets his feet under him, and gets back to playing, it's going to be hard to expect him to be anywhere near what we expected from him back in his Saints days. And remember, he never really looked or felt comfortable in that offense. He started to show some signs towards the end of the year, but he really never did much in that offense to begin with. And so I'd have a lot of reservations about what he's going to be able to do for you this year. And he's not somebody that I'm going to say you shouldn't draft. Period. I would just really temper expectation to make sure you have somebody that you're gonna treat Jimmy Graham sort of like somebody who's going to be in a little bit of a committee where you're going to play the hot hand on a week-to-week basis, not somebody like a Gronk or a Tyler Eifert that you're just going to plug into your lineup and let him go. So that's kind of where I think he stands at this point. I think he'll be ready for the start of the year, but I just think that expecting him to be a top 5 or a top 3 tight end at this point is asking way too much, especially the first year back after this injury. So second guy we're going to talk about is Le'Veon Bell. He suffered a pretty brutal looking injury, and it looked like that he tore his ACL right off the bat. I mean, I think I remember tweeting it out that I thought he had an ACL MCL tear, and thankfully he really only had an MCL and a PCL tear, cost him the rest of his season, but it's not as debilitating and dramatic as it is to tear the ACL plus the MCL. So he lucked out from that standpoint, and by all accounts, he's back to doing a lot of his running, his cutting, his sprinting, all that stuff without issue. He's 9 months post-op. We're still in the middle of July. Camp doesn't start for a few more, for another week or two. I think he's going to be somebody who's going to jump right back into the season. He's going to be ready to go week 1. I have no reservations about Le'Veon Bell, especially when you factor in he's 24 years old, no significant pathology to his knee prior to this, and he hasn't had any reported setbacks. I know teams are pretty coy heading into the year, but usually there's things that leak and come out from time to time, and he just hasn't had anything from a negative standpoint affect him at this point in his recovery. So I think full speed ahead with Le'Veon Bell. I would have no reservations drafting him with my first couple picks in the first round. And I think he's somebody who's going to be a stud in just a dynamic offense, and he's going to be a guy that's involved in all facets of the game. So I expect a big year out of Le'Veon Bell. So any questions on these two guys, anybody else that comes up in mind, please, like I said, don't hesitate to find me on Twitter at Z_Dahdul. You can use the hashtag Ask Dr. ZPT, and I'll search for it on Twitter. If there's anything there, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Find all of our content at fflockerroom.com. We're really ramping up heading into training camp. Got a lot of great new young riders on our staff now. So go to fflockerroom.com. Find out all of that good content. All of my content will be there, and hopefully we'll get you guys as informed and ready to go heading into the new season. All right, see you guys next week. Take care.